Hare Krishna. Welcome to the next class of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So today we will be studying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 29. The title of the chapter is Kṛṣṇa and the Gopīs meet for the Rāsa dance. So in the previous class we read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 28. Kṛṣṇa rescues Nand Maharaj from the abode of Varuna. So let's get started. Please join us. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Mudiryet
Tato Jayamudiryet
Shavtam Swakatha Krishna
Shravatam Sakatha Kṛṣṇa
Punya Shavana Kirtanaha
Punya Shravana Kirtana
Hridayantasto Hyabhadrani
Hridayantasto Bhadrani
Vidunoti Suhasatam
Vidunoti Sahasratam
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttam Shloke
Bhagavate Uttam Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavti Nashtiki.
Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki.
Hare Krishna. So today we'll be covering Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 29. Krishna and the Gopīs meet for the Rāsa dance. So in this particular chapter, Śrīmad Goswami is describing the Rāsa dance that occurred during the autumn, Sharad Purnima, the full moon night in the autumn season. And he is describing it to Parikshit Maharaj, who is fasting until death for the 7 days. So this is like the Bhagavad Saptah, the true first Bhagavad Saptah, where everyone was so immersed in, listening to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, completely absorbed that nobody was feeling the hunger, the pangs of hunger or thirst. And that is the level of concentration. And sometimes it's also referred that Bhagavatam is for the Paramhamsas, because even the Paramhamsas, even the Atmanams, they rejoice when they hear Bhagavatam. And in this assembly, the great sages, they are present. Śrīmad Goswami's own father, Vyasadeva, is there. Vasishtha Muni is there, Vishwamitra is there. So many great sages, are there, and all these sages are here to see as how Parikshit Maharaj, he is interested in hearing Bhagavatam. And also in the previous class we covered the 3 reasons when even Indra came with a pot of nectar to have an exchange with Bhagavatam, that disqualified him. So again, this is an Amal Purāṇa. It's a faultless. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to call it Amal Purāṇa. Mal means mal, right? It comes from mal. So any dirt. So there's not a tinge of dirt in Bhagavatam. And so, how could there be any even tinge? Because even in this particular pastime, where Lord Krishna and the Gopīs, they are meeting for the Rāsa dance. And sometimes, with mundane perspective, people misunderstand this chapter. However, when we read this chapter, we should keep the proper perception. And we should have the right understanding coming from the acharyas, coming from in the disciplic succession, so we can understand the message that's contained in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and especially in this chapter. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So let's recite the first verse. Please join us. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 29, Text 1. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam
Bhagwan Pita Ratri
Bhagwan Pita Ratri
Sharadot Pulla Mallikaha
Sharadot Full Mallika
Viksharantum Manaschakre
Viksharantu Manaschakre
Yogamayam Upashritaha.
Yogamayam Upashrita Shri Bhadrayani Uvacha
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Uvacha
Bhagwan Pita Ratri
Bhagwan Pita Ratri
Sharadot Full Mallika
Sharadot Pulla Mallikaha
Viksharantum Manaschakre
Viksharantum Manaschakre
Yogamayam Upashrita
Yogamayam Upashritaha. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Uvacha.
Shri Bhadrayane Uvacha
Shri Shukdev Goswami, the son of Srila Bhadrayana Vyasadeva, said,
Shri Shukdev, the son of Srila Bhadrayana Veda Vyas said,
Bhagwan,
Bhagwan
Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Bhagwan Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Api,
although,
Taha, those, Ratrihi, nights, Sharad, of autumn, Utpulla, blossoming, Mallikaha,
Mallika,
the jasmine flowers, Viksha, sing, Rantum, to enjoy love, Manachakre, he made up his mind, Yogamayam, his spiritual potency that makes the impossible possible,
his spiritual potency that makes the impossible possible,
Upashritaha,
Upashrita,
resorting to. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Bhadrayani said, Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in all opulences, yet upon seeing those autumn nights scented with blossoming jasmine flowers, he turned his mind toward loving affairs. To fulfill his purposes, he employed his internal potency. Hare Krishna. Purport. As we begin the famous narration of Lord Krishna's Rāsa dance, a dance of love with beautiful young girls, questions will inevitably arise in the minds of ordinary people regarding the propriety of God's romantic dancing with many young girls in the middle of a full moon autumn night. In his description of the Lord's Rāsa dance in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada painstakingly explains the spiritual purity of these transcendental activities. Those advanced in the science of Krishna, the great teachers or acharyas, leave no doubt that Lord Krishna is full and satisfied in himself, free of all material desires, which is, after all, a sense of incompleteness or lack. Materialistic persons and impersonal philosophers stubbornly reject the bona fide explanation of Sri Krishna's transcendental nature. There is no reason to deny the beautiful reality of an absolute person able to perform absolute romantic activities, of which our so-called romance is merely a show or perverted reflection. The irrational insistence that material activities cannot be a reflection of the perfect spiritual activities performed by God reflects the unimaginative, emotional disposition of those who oppose the reality of Sri Krishna. This philosophical disposition of the non-devotees, which leads them to fervently deny the very existence of the absolute person, unfortunately boils down to what may be succinctly described as envy, since the overwhelming majority of the impersonal critics eagerly pursue their own romantic affairs, which they consider quite real and even spiritual. The actual supreme lover is Lord Krishna. The Vedanta Sutra begins by declaring that the absolute truth is the source of everything, and even Western philosophy was born in a somewhat awkward attempt at finding the original one behind the apparent many of material existence. Conjugal love, one of the most intense and demanding aspects of human existence, can hardly have nothing at all to do with the supreme reality. In fact, the conjugal love explained by human beings is a mere reflection of spiritual reality, in which the same love exists in an absolute, pristine state. Thus, it is clearly stated here that when Krishna decided to enjoy the romantic atmosphere of autumn, he resorted to his spiritual potency, Yogamayam Upashritaha. The spiritual nature of Lord Krishna's conjugal affairs is a major theme in this section of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. A woman is attractive because of the sweet sound of her voice, her beauty and gentleness, her enchanting fragrance and tenderness, and also because of her cleverness and skill in music and dance. The most attractive ladies of all are the young Gopīs of Vrindavan, who are Lord Krishna's internal potency. And this chapter tells how he enjoyed their brilliant feminine qualities. Even though, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has mentioned, Lord Krishna was an 8-year-old boy when these events took place. Ordinary people prefer God simply to be a witness of their romantic affairs. Thank you. Ordinary people prefer God simply to be a witness of their romantic affairs. When a boy desires a girl or a girl desires a boy, sometimes they pray to God for their enjoyment. Such people are shocked and dismayed to find out that the Lord can enjoy his own loving affairs with his own transcendental senses. In truth, Sri Krishna is the original Cupid, and his existing conjugal pastimes will be described in this section of the Bhagavatam. When Lord Krishna descends to the earth, his spiritual body seems to take birth and grow as he displays his variegated pastimes. The Lord could hardly allow his boyhood to pass without exhibiting the supreme loving affairs between a young boy and young girls. Thus, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes Srila Rupa Goswami as follows: Kaishoram safali karoti kalyan kunje viharam harihi. Lord Hari perfects his youth by arranging loving pastimes in the groves of the Vrindavan forest. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshtarine Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadham vande Shri Gurum Deenatararam. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So, in the purport, disciples of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, have very nicely described that these are not mundane affairs. And limiting God by saying that He cannot perform, romantic affairs is saying that, He is limited in His capacity, and that is not true. Very clearly in this verse, it has been, in the purport has been said that He is full in Himself. And Parashar Muni gives the definition of who Bhagwan is, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one who is Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Bhagwan as we refer, is full in all six opulences. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashya jnana vairagyascheva sannam bhaga iti gana. Aishwaryasya, the first quality is Aishwarya. He is full and, with goddess of fortune is serving him. So he is full in opulence. Samagrasya means completely full, 100%. Viryasya, in bravery, in strength, he is completely full. Yash, he is the most famous person in all the universe. Shriya, he is the most beautiful person. Jnana, he is the most knowledgeable. And Vairagya, he is the most renounced person. So all these six qualities, when we put one or the other quality, will be attractive to all kind of people. And especially from materialistic perspective, they just want to see Lord as Vairagya would renunciate. While at the same time, Lord is Atmaram, yes. He is completely satisfied in Himself. And you cannot separate, a power from powerful. So, person who is powerful. So, similarly, Lord cannot be separated from His internal potency. See, they are constantly together. And Lord uses His internal potency to manifest various pastimes, just like we use our strength to perform different activities. And all abilities are coming from Lord Kṛṣṇa, Purāṇa Vishnu. He says in Bhagavad Gita that I am the ability in man. So when we are getting ability from Lord, then how can we say that Lord doesn't have the ability to perform all kind of wonderful pastimes? And these are the most amorous pastimes of Lord Kṛṣṇa, where He is reciprocating with His eternal loving devotees, the Gopīs. And here in this particular chapter, in the translation itself, as we heard, that He is full in all opulences, yet upon seeing those autumn nights scented with blossoming jasmine flowers. So He understood that Yog Maya, His internal potency, is arranging the whole environment. And in the purport, it is very clearly described that He was 8 years old. So this question may be asked, that till now we have read in the previous chapter that Lord was 7 years old. How? Because when He was 7 years old, that's when He diverted everyone's attention from Indra Yajna to worship of Govardhan hill. And then, when Indra became angry and he sent Samvartika clouds, Lord, to protect His eternal associates, He lifted Govardhan hill for 7 days and 7 nights. So, Govardhan worship of Govardhan hill was performed on full moon day. After that, when Indra sent, Lord Kṛṣṇa held it for 7 days, 7 nights. So that's after a day. So there are 9 days have passed. On the 10th day is when Indra came with Surbi cow and worshipped the Lord. And he did Abhishek, right? He showered Ganges water, the celestial Ganges water is described. And Surbi cow bathed Lord with her milk. So that's the 10th day. And then came Ekadashi. So on Ekadashi, the fasting happened. And then Nand Maharaj, realizing on Dwadashi that a few minutes were remaining, he entered the water along with other cowherdmen, but he did not come out. So at that time, Lord Kṛṣṇa went to, rescue Nand Maharaj from the abode of Varun Dev. So Varun Dev, he is the demigod who rules the water bodies, and his abode is in the ocean. And from there Lord receives. So again, Varun Dev is also one of the Adityas. Like we hear Vivaswan, the god of the sun planet, the demigod of the sun planet. He is also son of Aditi and Kashyapa Muni. So there are various Adityas, 12 Adityas. Indra is one of the Adityas. So Varun Dev is also one of the senior ones, and he is an Aditya. He is son of Aditi. And from his abode, Lord Krishna rescues, and then he shows all the cowherd men when he returns back, and all of them realizing that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All of them are anxious to know what their destination is going to be after this life. So they knew that there is life after this life. Even simple-minded cowherd men they knew this. Yet at the same time, in materialistic world, we sometimes see that many scientists or great philosophers, they deny the very existence of God, and they also deny that there will be a future birth. And if there is, because they are afraid. This is fear. And it reminds me of an incident where Srila Prabhupada was, traveling in New York, and while seeing, he saw on a billboard, it was written, "Is there sex after birth, after life, after death?" So he said, "See, this is the mentality of a materialist." And then he narrated a very nice story where a friend told his drunkard friend that you drink, so you will go to hell. So the drunkard man, he said, "Well, my brother also drinks." And his friend said, "He will also go to hell." And he said, "My father also drinks. He will also go to hell. My grandfather also drinks. He will also go to hell." So this way he narrated, he identified all his family members. And he said, "Well, if everyone is present there, then it's not hell, it's heaven." So Srila Prabhupada was, laughing, looking at this billboard, and he's saying, this is the mentality. First, they would deny that there is, life after death. So there is, you need to reincarnate again, you need to take birth again. Yet at the same time, they are hoping that if there is sex after life, after death, then it is all wonderful. So we'll enjoy sex now in this life, and we'll continue to enjoy sex after this life. So this is the mentality of a materialist, to just seek sense gratification. Which is where we should understand that it's very important to differentiate what is lust and what is love. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is filled with narrations of devotees who are, serving Lord with love. And what is that love? Love is to seek satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. And what is lust? Lust is to seek sense gratification, to seek satisfaction of one's own senses. So that's the essential difference. Who is in the center? When we are engaged in any activity, we should think, who is in the center? So sometime back we also looked at as how cowherd boys were saying, "Oh Krishna, we are hungry." So they are showing us that they are hungry, but they knew that if they ask Kṛṣṇa that he is hungry, he may deny it. Yet at the same time, they felt that if we are hungry, that means Krishna and Balaram both are very hungry. And at that time, they wanted to find a solution to satisfy Lord Krishna's senses. So Acharyas explained that they posed the question in such a way that Lord Krishna would seek a solution. And at that time, Lord Krishna suggested to them, go to the Brahmanas who are engaged in this yajna to elevate themselves to heavenly planets, and ask them for some food in the name of Balaram and me. So that's where we heard that even though in Shastras question has been posed, it seems like sense gratification, but no, there is a deeper meaning behind it. They were very nicely asking Krishna so that they can get some bhoga for Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. And later on we heard how the wives of the Brahmanas, they brought pots filled with nice food stuff, and they wanted to stay with Lord Krishna and Balaram. They did not want to go back because their husbands, they tried to stop them, father, brothers, sons, they tried to stop them, but then they did not listen to anyone because they were already meditating on Lord Krishna. Hearing the glories of Lord Krishna, they had already, surrendered themselves to Lord Krishna. So again, at that particular point, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gave an elaborate commentary on saying how they had developed this conjugal love, the feeling of conjugal love, which is the topmost platform to reach when we are seeking love of Godhead. So how they had achieved that. And then later on, means again, even before that, when Gopa boys asked, earlier than that, in the same morning, Lord Kṛṣṇa had stolen the clothes of the Gopīs and he had climbed a Kadamba tree. And at that time, the Gopīs, the young Gopīs, they were doing the Snan, that's after the Katyayani Vrat, the whole month old, long, 30 days old Katyayani Vrat that they had performed. And what was the purpose they were performing this worship of Katyayani, Goddess Katyayani, Goddess Durga, is to get Lord Kṛṣṇa as their husband. So again, it is said that very nicely this has been arranged so it appears like mundane activity, but it is keeping Lord Kṛṣṇa in the center. So this is love. Because they are not seeking their own sense gratification, rather they are seeking to become maidservant of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And this is where, in the autumn month, in the Sharat Mas, Lord Kṛṣṇa is wandering in Vrindavan, in the forest of Vrindavan, and there he suddenly sees that the full moon is coming up with a reddish glow. So seeing that, he is reminded of, just like after a long time when a husband returns home and he sees his beautiful wife, he is gladdened and he, puts kumkum on his wife. So similarly, he is feeling that the whole moon is spreading this reddish hue like sunshine, the moonshine. The moon rays are so pleasing and it's brightening the whole forest and providing a reddish hue onto the outlines of the trees and the leaves and so forth. Nice breeze is flowing. Fragrance of jasmine flowers is making the whole environment very soothing with that soft wind as it's flowing. Now in autumn season, generally the air is dry and it hurts the body. Yet at the same time, Lord Kṛṣṇa is seeing that this is all arranged by Yogamaya, his internal potency. Because she is encouraging him to remember the promise he made to the Gopīs a year back. So here it is very nicely described in the purport that it was a year after, during the Mass of Sharat, that Lord Kṛṣṇa, he was 8 years old now. And in this environment, he remembered his promise he had made to the Gopīs to fulfill their desire that they would have him as their husband. Now many of the Gopīs is described were already married. So from that particular perspective, mundane philosophers or materialists, they think, oh, he's having affairs with other married ladies and that's not justified. So there is, in Warsaw, Poland, there was a nun. She had actually, made a court case on Kṛṣṇa. She pulled Kṛṣṇa to the court. So again, basically ISKCON. She basically said that ISKCON, International Society for Kṛṣṇa Consciousness, is promoting this idea about a personality that they worship by the name Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, who is having 16,108 wives. And these are called Gopikas. So she was a little confused. That's in the Dwarka Leela. But nevertheless, she was saying that he is having many wives, and that is an immoral character. So at that time in the court, when the case was presented in front of judge, ISKCON devotees asked her to please, speak out loudly the oath she had taken when she became nun, and she would not say it. Then the devotees asked the judge for permission to read out the oath that a nun takes before she takes to her service as a nun. So, a woman takes to become a nun. And in essence, the oath says that she marries Jesus Christ. And their counter-argument was very nicely placed that, well, Lord Kṛṣṇa has 16,108 wives, but it appears that there are more than 1 million nuns. So Lord Jesus has more than 1 million wives. So he's, immoral comparatively. And at that time, the case was simply dismissed. So that particular incident, if we look at it from the perspective of Gopīs, that also identifies very clearly the mood of the Gopīs. They are the one who want to serve Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Lakshmi Shahastra Sata Sambramya Sevyamanam. in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is singing that there are hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis, the goddesses of fortune. They are serving Lord with love and devotion. So these are the Gopīs. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada very nicely described that these are the Gopīs of Vrindavan. So the name, and again in the purport, the most beautiful and attractive ladies are the Gopīs, it's described. How can it not be true? Because Lord Krishna is all attractive. So how can his potency not be most attractive as well? So these are the Gopikas who are the maid servants of the Lord. So they have spiritual bodies. And it is very nicely described in this chapter that when Lord Krishna, understanding the mood and remembering his promise that he made to the Gopis a year back, he take out his flute, Venu. So Venu is the small one, about 8 inches long, and he started playing on Venu. Now, as soon as he started singing the song from his flute, the song of the flute, when heard by the Gopis, immediately stole their heart. Their very, heart was stolen instantly, so they are leaving immediately to see Lord Krishna. So completely, disturbed by Cupid, it's described. And Lord Krishna is the original Cupid. When Lord Krishna expands, first he expands into Balaram. Lord Balaram expands into Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. It is Pradyumna, actually Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, these four personalities, Vishnu Tattvas, they arrange the affairs for the material universes. So they manage material universes at a high level. So further expansion is Mahavishnu and then Shirodakshai and so forth. Garbhodakshai and Shirodakshai Vishnus. The three Vishnu avatars, Purusha avatars. So Pradyumna is the original Cupid, of whom Kamdev, the Cupid in this material world, is an expansion. So that's why when Lord Shiva, he opened his third eye to burn Cupid, Kamdev, he was able to destroy the body, but at the same time Kamdev was alive when he was still present, but he was not visible anymore. And he said, wow, now you cannot, do anything because you can only destroy the body, the dress per se. So here again, Gopis have been described to have transcendental bodies, spiritual bodies. And they understand that Lord Krishna is calling them. So they are responding to the call. Now how there can be various conflicts. So from the materialistic perspective, we'll look at it so that we get to the right understanding. So when their fathers are stopping them from going, that is a relationship they have as a daughter to obey their fathers. That they should not walk out of the house unless permitted by the elders. When their husbands are stopping them, then there is a relationship of a wife. So as, wife of these cowherd men, they have this relationship to serve their husbands, to obey their husbands. They have responsibilities to their children, their sons, and to their brothers. So if they're taking care and they have been, protected by the brothers, then they want to make sure that they are following the basic injunction as given by the Shastras. So that is the responsibility of the body in different relationships. And these prescribed duties are sometimes in conflict with each other. A very nice example is given in Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Shri Krishna, before he gave instructions to Arjun, he had actually had a conversation with Kṛṣṇa. So he knew that Kṛṣṇa doesn't know about his birth. And he wanted to reveal to Kṛṣṇa about the birth so that Kṛṣṇa can join over to the Pandava side. Now sometimes it is said that Krishna was trying to persuade Kṛṣṇa to join Pandava's side. But in this interaction with Kṛṣṇa, Krishna is revealing that Kṛṣṇa, while he has an amsha of Suryadev, Vivaswan, he also has Dambodbhava, Danav in him. So the soul of Kṛṣṇa is composed of two parts. One is from Vivaswan, because we narrated this story early on, that there was a Sahastra Kavach Rakshas, and Nanda Rishis, they had a fight with him, so only one last Kavach was remaining and Kundal. So at that time he took shelter of Vivaswan, his worshipable deity, and Vivaswan, being a Kshatriya, he would give protection to anyone who comes in his shelter, and this is his own devotee coming for his shelter, so he gave him shelter. So when Narayan Rishi approached Vivaswan, Lord Vivaswan, who is the ruler of Sun planet, that give us the Bodhbhava, we are in fight and we are going to kill him. At that time, Vivaswan said, no, I cannot give you. So at that time, Nara said that you denied my brother Narayan. Narayan is none other than Krishna, Nara is none other than Arjun. So he said that you denied my brother, so you will have to take birth along with this Rakshas, this Jiva, and then we will handle this scenario. So again, this is where Kṛṣṇa is born of Surya Dev Vivaswan and Hare Krishna, and Kunti before her marriage to King Pandu. And that was because she wanted to test out the mantra she got from Durvasa Muni. And now Kṛṣṇa is not aware, he is always thinking that his mother is Radha, that's a different Radha, who was married to the charioteer, and this charioteer was serving along with Sanjay, who was charioteer of the Dhritarashtra. So Kṛṣṇa was always known by the name Radheya, son of Radha. And that's a different lady, different personality. And when Lord Krishna has this conversation, the conversation starts very nicely. Lord Krishna is showing the great personality, Vivaswan, means the Amsha of Vivaswan in Kṛṣṇa, by saying that you are a Kshatriya, you have been always truthful, you have been righteous, and you have carried out your dharma, your prescribed duties very well. But you do not know that you are not a son of a Shudra, in this case, Radha. And you are not Radheya, as people understand. And Kṛṣṇa reveals that he only has two identities. One is given by his brother, Radha, that's why he is known as Radheya. And the second is given to him by Duryodhana, because Duryodhana made him king of Anga Desh. So he is known as Angaraj. So he is in debt to both these personalities. And then when Lord Krishna reveals to him that actually he is a Pandava, he is born of Kunti, and based on her marriage with Pandu, he is her son and the Jeshta, he is the eldest of the Pandavas. So if he joins the side of the Pandavas, then he can enjoy all the kingdom that he will get by winning. And there was also an impetus for Kṛṣṇa, because Bhishma Pitama had said that if Bhishma Pitama is on the battlefield, he would not let Kṛṣṇa get onto the battlefield and fight. So, but if Kṛṣṇa joins the side of the Pandavas, that restriction would go away. And Kṛṣṇa was, he had conflicting priorities now, he has conflicting feelings. At one place, he is feeling indebtedness to his mother and to Duryodhana, because his identity as Angraj is because of Duryodhana, and he considers Duryodhana as his friend, and he ignores all faults of Duryodhana. And sometimes just go along with the, just going with the flow aspect. Yet at the same time, he is realizing that if he is a Kunti Putra, he is a Kaunteya, right? Kaunteya means the son of Kunti. So he is son of Kunti and also the eldest son of Kunti. Then at that time, he has this great opportunity. And his mind is, because he is also righteous, because of the influence of Sun God. And he is also worshipping Sun God as Kṛṣṇa. He is saying that it will not be right to Pandavas, because if he is given the throne, he will immediately give it to Duryodhana. And Lord Krishna would not desire that. Yet at the same time, Kṛṣṇa is saying that he has been put in this state of crisis. So there are conflicts coming in his mind because of his friendship with Duryodhana and his relationship with Pandavas. So there are these two conflicts. Yet at the same time, he is making his own decisions. And he is not seeking shelter. He is making his decisions, not seeking shelter, while Lord Krishna is telling him that you should come to your real mother. And he says that, I am known as Radhe all my life, and I have this obligation towards her. And I am known as Angraj when I was insulted in front of all the, in the arena where all these warriors were showing after they had finished their studies from Dronacharya. They are showing their valor. At that time, I could not compete with Arjun because everyone said that I am a Shudra. I am born of a Shudra, son of a Shudra. So at that time, he gave this logic, and Lord Krishna, he didn't, since he was not looking for shelter, Lord Krishna left it at him, he made his decision and stayed with Duryodhana. So this is where conflicting priorities come, and they create conflict because of a different position. Yet at the same time, Acharyas explains, Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam yat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchyate. Actually, it's anasakta salvation. So Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam, we should be free of all kind of positions, designations that come from this body. Why? Because when we are relating with body, we are in a relative platform, we are under the modes of material nature. And that relativity causes conflict. And because of conflict, anxiety arises. And that anxiety can cause fear and crisis. So when Arjun was put in the same situation, similar situation, when he said, "Oh Lord Krishna, please take my chariot to the middle of the two armies," and Lord Krishna took the chariot right in front of, Grandsire Bhishma, as well as his teacher Dronacharya. Arjun looked at his relationship with all the gathered warriors on the battlefield. As Grandsire Bhishma, his relationship was of a grandson, where he should be paying obeisances, paying respect, gratitude. He should be, thanking his teacher, in awe and reverence, and again showing gratitude that all his abilities are because of his teacher. He's looking at his cousins and his brothers, and he's thinking that all of them I should be, embracing. That's why he gives the various reasons. And one of the reasons is, if all these are killed, then what is the use of having a kingdom that I cannot enjoy with them? This is again on a bodily platform. So various kind of conflicts are arising. That's because of his different upadhis, different designations he is associating with his body. While Lord Krishna lifts him up from that. When he takes shelter of Lord Krishna, Lord Krishna does not say anything until unless Arjuna says that I am in doubt. What is my duty? What is my true duty? What should I do? What's my dharma? And at that time, Lord Krishna reveals to him what his dharma is, and revealing to him starts with identification that we are soul, not this body. And as soul, as living entities, we have a very specific constitutional position. So sometimes people just stop it. I am soul, not this body. I'm a spiritual being having material experience. Sometimes they just stop there. It's very important that very next verse is where he is revealing that a stable person understands that I am eternally existing, and my nature is as an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. Jivera surubhaya Krishnera nityadas. So that's the constitutional position of living entity, that we are eternal servants of Lord Krishna. Now when we look at from our constitutional position of a true identity, not of the dress, because from the dress perspective I may be a father, I may be a husband, I may be a son, I may be a brother, but when we look from the true absolute platform, at that point we see that we are nothing but spirit soul that is having this body as a dress. And because of the body, we have various relationships. Once we leave the body, we only have one identity. That's on the absolute platform. So instead of staying on the relative platform, which is influenced by the three modes of material nature, the mode of goodness, sattvic, the mode of passion, rajasic guna, and then mode of ignorance, tamasic guna. So instead of being under this mode of three modes of material nature, if we transcend them, we realize that as spirit soul, as living entity, we have a direct relationship with our Father, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, that He is the Master and we are the servant. He is the Father, we are the sons. He is the best friend of all living entities. So this is where we should understand. When we come and read this chapter, Krishna and the Gopis meet for the Rasa dance. These Gopis have spiritual bodies. So they are already on the spiritual platform. So when their relatives are stopping them, while they are already on the spiritual, they have transcended the three modes of material nature, they are responding to the call of the Master, the Supreme Master, Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is reciprocating to them for the prayers they made, the worship, the Katyayani Vrat for the 30 days that they had performed the previous year. And so all the Gopis, some of them were tending to cows, they were milking the cows. Some of them had just put cakes in the stove so that they were about to cook meal for the family. Some of them were getting ready. So as they were getting ready, they heard the song of the flute and they immediately stopped and they rushed. Some of them did take time to dress nicely and then they left. And some of them were not able to leave. So again, some of them were even tending to the babies, feeding the babies, and at that time they immediately left. And this is because they are addressing the call of the Lord, who is responding to their request of serving him a whole year back, when he was 7 years old and they were younger, a year back. So he's now calling them, and that's reminding them. And the Cupid, none other than Lord Krishna, he has stolen their heart and has stolen all their other qualities which are related to the relative aspect. Now Lord Krishna knew that this would cause a big conflict in Vrindavan if this happens, right? So he arranged through Yoga Maya, his internal potency, very nicely, that it appeared that they have material bodies which stayed in their homes while they traveled in their spiritual bodies to see Lord Krishna. So all the Gopis are rushing to see Lord Krishna, responding to the call, not knowing that other Gopis are also rushing to see Lord Krishna. So as these Gopis, they are responding to the call of Lord Krishna's, song of the flute. They are completely taken, they are completely immersed in his thoughts. They want to see him, and they are agitated by Cupid, it said, because Lord Krishna is the original Cupid. So it is at the absolute platform, and it's very nicely described later on in this particular chapter as well as by Srila Prabhupada, that these ladies, there are actually 4 different categories they have been described as. Some of them, like Radharani and her close associates, were originally, Radharani is direct manifestation. Her name is also Radhika or Aradhita. It's derived from Aradhita, who is the topmost worshipper of Lord Krishna. Aradhanam is worship. So Aradhita means the one who's a worshipper. So again, she's the topmost worshipper of Lord Krishna. That's why her name is Radha. And her close associates are her own expansions, like Lalita, Vishaka, and Dulekha, and so forth. So all these Gopis, they are rushing, and all the other Gopis, they are rushing as well. So it's very nicely given in the context. So in the 9th verse, the purport, it's given. So I'm going to quickly read this particular specific aspect. Where Srila Rupa Goswami's Ujjwal Neelamani, it is described the different categories of Gopis. So there are 2 categories of Gopis initially. They are eternally perfect, the Nitya Siddhas, and those who had become perfect by practicing Bhakti Yoga, or they are also referred to as Sadhana Siddhas. The Sadhana Siddhas are of 2 categories further. Those who belong to the spatial group and those who do not. And of these, there are also 2 classes of the Gopis who belong to the spatial group. Namely the Shruticharis, who come from the group of the personified Vedas. So Vedas come from Lord Krishna and also referred to as non-different from Lord Krishna. So some of the Gopis are personified Vedas who had appeared. And the Rishicharis. So Shruticharis and Rishicharis. And who are these Rishicharis? We have, again, identified them again. During Ramayana, when Lord Ramchandra was here in the Treta Yuga, at that time, he was in Dandakaranya forest. where Chitrakoot is where he had set up his hut, kutir. And for over 11 years he stayed there. So there were many sages who were going through, and so when they approached Lord Ramchandra, they wanted to, they wanted to embrace Lord Ramchandra as their husbands, right? So again, as Gopīs, they wanted to do that. Not the unnatural way today's society is trying to, depict a complete mundane, a perverted reflection of that. How? This is love of Godhead. And the love of Gopīs, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, is the topmost. And he appeared in this, he came in Kali age to experience the love that Radharani experiences. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, Andar Kṛṣṇa, Bahar Radha. So he is Krishna himself who has appeared in the complexion of Radharani. Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi, the golden complexion. That's why we also call him Golden Avatar. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, glorifies the Gopīs, who were the topmost devotees of the Lord, and they just wanted to be the maidservants of Lord Shri Krishna. So when they come to the forest, Lord Krishna initially gives 7 reasons of, discouraging them. He is teaching us through what are the prescribed duties of a woman in this material world as they are carrying out various activities. So the first one is, he is saying, first he welcomes them. So if somebody comes to you, it is, we already talked about it, as Prabhupada Saraswati Maharaj, he describes very nicely that when somebody comes to you, then you make them feel comfortable, you welcome them. Even for an enemy who comes to you, first of all, as devotee doesn't see any difference between an enemy and a friend. They are equipoised and they consider everyone as, dear to Krishna. So even if a person who is inimical to us, when they come to us to have an interaction, we welcome them, we smile and we encourage them to have a good conversation with us. And sometimes just by giving a smile and showing this attitude melts away their heart. This is also another glory. Because when we have our heart open, it's very difficult for the other person to stay closed. And most of the time the conflict is happening because one or the other personality is looking for sense gratification. And they are looking from the bodily concept of life, right? They are under the modes of material nature. And the conflict at the super level, at the higher level, is actually encouraging to each other. As we see in this particular conversation, there is a conflict. You can say that there is a conflict happening between Lord Krishna's welcoming and suggesting to Gopīs to go back, while Gopīs want to stay with Lord Krishna. This conversation also tells us, as when Brahmana's wives, they came to Lord Krishna, when they were assured that when they will go back, they will not be punished for having left their husbands, their fathers and sons and brothers, and they returned back by once being assured. Yet at the same time, they had developed the love of Godhead in their heart. Yet their mood was not to have Lord Krishna as their husband. Gopīs are even at a higher level, at that Shuddha Sattva level, where they are seeking to serve Lord Krishna. So when they have come to see Lord Krishna, the first reason he gives is that they are ferocious animals in this forest. So it is very dangerous, it's very frightening situation for them that they have come alone in this forest to see him. So they should immediately return. So this is where he's saying, that there can be fear. Yet Gopīs, they don't care about anything but Lord Krishna. They want to serve Lord Krishna. Then the second reason he gives is that your brothers, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, your sons, they will all be looking for you. You are missing from your home. He's not revealing to them that due to the effect of yoga, he has arranged that their material bodies as replacements at their home as they have come to see him. And they have come in their spiritual bodies. So he's not revealing to them. He's just trying to show us that when these Gopīs are saying what happens if they are made to realize that their brothers, fathers, he's calling out and creating conflict through their bodily relationships with their relatives. And that these relatives would be in anxiety. And it is not safe to create such anxiety to your loved ones. Yet at the same time they know that the most loved one is Lord Shri Krishna. Suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. So they are not at all agitated. They are completely peaceful in their heart. And then he is giving the third reason as that in the Vrindavan forest it is so nice. You are seeing the full moon and it's, spreading, the moon rays are spreading this reddish hue. The beautiful trees are here, the leaves are glistening in the light of this moon, and such a nice fragrance of jasmine flowers is here. So it's such a wonderful scenic environment, and that your senses are fully enjoying this. So now that your senses are enjoying this and you feel satisfied, you should return. But that's not their purpose. They are not looking for their sense gratification, rather they are seeking to satisfy senses of Lord Shri Krishna, who is Rishikesha. Only when we serve Lord Krishna, our senses are satisfied. And then he is giving them the reason that you have come here because of your great love to me, and that is natural, because all living entities worship me, they have this love for me. So it is but natural that you are doing this. However, the highest religious duty of a woman is to sincerely serve her husband. So, you should behave well towards your husbands. So he is calling out to their most important relationship as wives of the cowherd man. And that they should immediately return because their duty is to serve the husband. So on a prescribed duty level, a woman does have a duty to serve the husband. So Srila Prabhupada identifies that in in Sanatana Dharma, women are highly regarded. And because they are very simple-hearted, they need constant protection. So they are protected when they are, born as girls, and they are protected by a father as daughters, and so the daughters are protected by father. When they are married off, then they are protected, given protection by their husbands, who's enabling them to engage in various spiritual activities, yet giving them protection from external elements, socially. And then, when a husband retires and takes to Vanaprastha life, at that time she receives the protection of their sons. And as we will hear, after Kṛṣṇa's death, his two wives, they went back to their father because they did not have any son, any grown-up son. So they went back to their father Jarasandha. So women, they need constant protection. They are not subdued. Rather, they are worshipped in this culture because, as we hear, Durga Devi, she is worshipped. Yogamaya, she is worshipped by the devotees. We are constantly worshipping, just like Gopīs. They show us, by performing Katyayani Vrat, that they are worshipping Yogamaya to receive Lord Krishna as their husband. So it is Yogamaya who is fulfilling their desire now in the autumn full moon night by, providing this environment and reminding to Lord Krishna that it is time for him to fulfill his promise to all the young Gopīs. And then he further narrates the prescribed duty of a wife. So again, he is using that same argument to say that if you want to desire a good destination in the next life, then never abandon a husband. Even though a husband can have bad qualities, and can you imagine the kind of bad qualities a husband could have? Even then a wife is not expected to abandon a husband. Even if the husband is obnoxious, unfortunate, old, unintelligent, sickly or poor. So even though a husband who is not very intelligent, maybe a dumb person, a wife should continue to still, provide service and engage with her husband, and maybe even help him to engage in devotional service. Because devotional service is so easy. All you need to start is simply by raising your hand and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So an intelligent wife, a wife who is very duty bound, should encourage her husband to engage in devotion service. Actually, that is my story as well. My wife became first Krishna conscious, and then she pulled me into this movement because she said, engaging in just prescribed duty as a father, as a son, as a brother, as a husband is not sufficient. So sometimes an unintelligent person like me need an encouragement from a wife. And of course, if you are poor, then wife enables you to become rich by this spiritual knowledge, because any other riches that you get in this world, you're going to leave them behind after this life. But the riches you get, that of spiritual knowledge, the wealth that you acquire, that stays on your account life after life. So it is for our benefit that we should, have a consort, a wife who is a devotee of the Lord. So Lord Krishna is revealing that a duty-bound wife who expects a higher birth, even a handy planet, in her next birth, should continue to serve a husband who is sickly. Sometimes the sickness may just be a subtle sickness, that we are in sickness because of the modes that are influencing us. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Mode of goodness causes pride to arise in our heart. Mode of passion makes us feel that we are all in all. Even a pauper is proud of his penny. And mode of ignorance completely makes us lazy and unintelligent. And one who is sickly is, can be described in this manner or in a physical term. Yet at the same time, a duty-bound wife will have a better destination. And so Lord Krishna is inciting them that they should go back and serve their husbands. And they, understanding their true position, they want to serve Lord Krishna because he is their true husband. So from that, Parkiya Rasbhav. It is very nicely described by Srila Prabhupada that spiritual world, if you look at a reflection of a tree at the bank of a river, then you see its reflection. So Parkiya Ras is at the top level in spiritual world. But in the reflection, it appears the lowest because it's a perverted reflection. So it's abominable in the material world, but it is very much appreciated in the spiritual world. It is the highest of all bhav because it is Atma Nivedanam. They are not just engaging in all of the process of devotion service, but they are also engaging in Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything for the satisfaction of Lord Shri Krishna. Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyana Vritam Anukurena Krishna Anushirinam Bhakti Ruttama. So again, it's very important that one does not have any desires. These Gopīs, they don't even have the desire for their protection. They only want to serve Lord Krishna. So even in the dark night, they are coming to the forest, not afraid of the ferocious animals. They only are pulled by the song of Lord Krishna's flute, and so they are coming there and they only want to serve Lord Krishna. So they are not covered by this jnana that can make sometimes our heart very hot. And then they are not also engaged in this karma, the prescribed duties related to the body or to the various karmic engagements, the activities with relation to the body. Rather, anukulena Krishna anushilena. So they are engaging in serving Lord Shri Krishna the way Lord Krishna desires.
Pure devotion service.
Pure devotion service. So that is the definition of pure devotion service, that we have to engage as Lord Krishna desires. And now someone can say, wait a minute, Lord Krishna actually desires them to return. No, he's playing with them in a jokingly manner. This is, an interaction between a lover and a beloved. So Lord Krishna is individually, inciting them. He is saying that you should immediately go back home. And then he is saying, now the last, the statement that he says again to incite them to return, is saying that just by my physical proximity does not become very dear to me. It is rather one who constantly remembers me becomes most dear to me and attains me. So they have already been doing that in all their innumerable births. As rishis for many, many births, without having any material desire, they had been serving Lord. So again, this is not even valid from that perspective. So he is saying that you don't need my proximity, but then they want to serve Lord Krishna. They wanted to, serve Lord Krishna, and hearing these words from Lord Krishna, hearing these different arguments and the different statements from Lord Krishna, the Gopīs, they start, using their big toe to scratch the ground in the soil, with their toes. And the tears are flowing from their eyes, and that's wetting their whole face and their clothes, and they are biting their lips because of what they are hearing. They do not expect this kind of reciprocation coming from Lord Krishna. And at that time, they place a very nice counter argument that, "Oh Lord, this does not befit you. Please accept us as your maid servant. We have already been, praying this." So this is, Lord is interacting with his potencies, his internal potencies, and also the sadhana siddhas, the rishis who have been seeking this pastime. And Rāsa means the most imbued, the most concentrated form of essence of love of Godhead. So again, this is at the topmost level where Lord Krishna smilingly, welcomes them and is engaged in Rāsa dance. So he's looking at them, he's smiling, and he's dancing with them, he's conversing with them. And during this Rāsa dance, each Gopī, they start becoming proud that Lord has accepted me. I'm the luckiest woman in this world, and no one is as lucky as me. And as soon as pride comes in our heart, which is, pride cometh before fall, as it said, Lord Krishna immediately, he's the most renounced, he immediately disappears from the vision. And now they are perturbed, and this is where the next chapter will be discussing as how the Gopīs, act, how they respond, how their behavior changes when the next chapter happens. So it's very important not to be driven by lust, but by love of Godhead. Not to be, so much driven by the conflicts that arise because of our dress, this body, but rather understand what's our absolute position as the living soul. And as living soul, we are eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So we should act on that platform. That way we will not be bound by the various karmic reactions that come because of the various engagements in activities in this material world under the influence of the three modes of material nature. So engaging in devotional service is the right path for us. And any activity done apart from devotional service, if it is keeping ourselves in the center, will cause us to fall down. So that's the third aspect. And then the Gopīs are great personalities, and they're spiritual personalities who are engaging with Lord Krishna, who is the supreme spiritual being, the supreme personality of Godhead. And that is for us to learn how Lord Krishna is so benevolent. And sometimes Lord Krishna and Gopīs conversation appears, that is, the topmost rasa, the parkiya rasa, but it is abominable. And sometimes people, some of the sadhus in Vrindavan, they engage young girls in doing this kind of, Rasa Leela they're showing, but this at a mundane level. They're making mockery of the sweetest and the topmost pastime of Lord Shri Krishna. And so these are Parakrat Sahajiyas who are creating confusion in the mind of innocent people and driving them away from the topmost rasa to understand. And very simply, when we want to take to understand such conjugal pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, we can truly understand them when we understand it from the acharyas, from our spiritual masters, from the advanced devotees, from the Vaishnavas. That way we can truly understand what the essence of these pastimes are, and that we can, learn to respect and understand our position, that we are just beginning in our journey. And what's important is that we need to continue to begin our journey so that we can follow them. So these are ragatmika devotees, right? They are constantly in that, they are imbued in that rag, they are the eternal associates of Lord. So we can never become ragatmika, but we can become raganugas. So since we follow, Rupa Goswami, as per Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says, we can be Rupa Raganugas, so we Rupanugas. So again, from that perspective, we are followers of Rupa Goswami. When we are following Srila Prabhupada, then we are Prabhupada Anugas. So we are the followers of Srila Prabhupada. So that should be our mood. We are following in their footsteps. Now there is a big distinction as how do we follow. Do you imitate their behavior or do you follow in their footsteps? So again, Anukaran and Anusharan. Anukaran is imitating one's actions, while Anusharan is taking shelter of their teachings, of their instructions and their very self. So we want to follow in the footsteps of Acharyas. That's why when we sing various prayers, we sing Vaishnava Acharya prayers because we want to understand the mood of the Acharyas and we take shelter of these Acharyas. And to chant Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very simple, very nicely it is given. To worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all you need to do is raise your hand and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that way we follow in the footsteps of the great Acharyas and we are constantly called to serve Lord Krishna by Radharani herself through Lord Chaitanya. She is calling us all to come and serve Lord Krishna so we can make this life blissful now and also attain after this life the supreme abode, and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So this is where we end this chapter. Kantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. So let's please join us in Narasimha Devati. Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Prahlad Lad Daine, Prahlad Lad Daine, Hiranyakashi Vakshaha, Hiranyakashi Vakshaha, Kavi Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.